Do you believe that our world is still filled with countless mysteries that no one has yet been able to solve? From the chilling legend of the Kandahar giant, the ancient blood towers of the Caucasus, to the deadly experiments of Nazi Germany, buried for hundreds of years. Let us take you on a journey to uncover some of the greatest mysteries in human history in today's video. So fasten your seatbelt as we dive into today's mystery. But first, you'll have incredible luck if you like and subscribe before this video ends. The Giant of Kandahar. The Giant of Kandahar, one of the most famous and controversial modern legends of the 21st century, has left not only the military community, but also mystery enthusiasts around the world stunned and perplexed. People have long told stories that, in ancient times, various races of giants once coexisted with modern humans in many lands. They are mentioned in Western mythology, indigenous legends, and even in the Bible. However, most accounts claim that this race of giants went extinct thousands of years ago, surviving only in faded pages of history and scattered bones in museums big and small across the world. But then, in the fiery conflict of Afghanistan in 2002, the story of the giant unexpectedly came alive again, far beyond the boundaries of legend. A team of American Special Forces was sent to the treacherous mountains of Kandahar to investigate the mysterious disappearance of a patrol unit. What they discovered sent chills down their spines. Shattered gear, bloodstains scattered about, and human bones mixed together under the trees, leading all the way to the mouth of a large cave. And then, as the soldiers ventured inside, the unimaginable happened. A terrifyingly massive creature, with a powerful build, flaming red hair, and animal skins draped over its body, suddenly emerged from the darkness. This being towered over any normal human and carried in its hand a massive, homemade spear tipped with sharpened stone. What followed was a short but fierce confrontation, leaving a trauma that none of the participants would ever forget. The giant, possessing strength far beyond that of any human, brought down a member of the Special Forces team with a single, fatal thrust. It took 30 seconds of continuous gunfire before the American soldiers were able to bring the bizarre creature down. When they moved in to examine it, they were stunned to find that the body stood over 13 feet tall, with 6 fingers on each hand, 2 rows of shark-like teeth, rough skin, and weighed up to 2,600 pounds, far surpassing any biological limits ever recorded by science. This is where the mystery truly began. Though the soldiers reported their findings up the chain of command, the creature's body was quickly airlifted away by a heavy-lift helicopter and disappeared without a trace. All information about the event was then kept strictly confidential by the US military. No one knows where the body of the Kandahar giant is now. No scientific report has ever been publicly released, and everything seems to have sunk into the darkness of classified files. Even when the US Department of Defense was asked about the incident, they neither confirmed nor denied it, fueling further suspicion that something real was being hidden behind a veil of secrecy. Many people believe that this creature could be a descendant of the Nephilim mentioned in the Bible, a race of giants said to have been punished and wiped out by God in the Great Flood. Others suggest it might be a remnant of an ancient human lineage, surviving in isolation in the rugged mountains of Afghanistan. Regardless of its origins, the story has been reinforced by the account of a former US Special Forces veteran who revealed in detail the tracking process and the terrifying battle inside the cave. According to his story, every team member was required to sign an agreement to keep the incident strictly confidential, with no information permitted to leave the group. The story grew even more extraordinary when, years later, a series of mysterious disappearances of soldiers continued to occur in these mountains. Many patrol teams entered the deep forest, only to vanish without a trace, leaving behind only their equipment, backpacks, and destroyed weapons scattered in dark caves, clues that remind people of the cave where the giant once appeared. No one dares to say for certain what really happened, because the full truth remains far beyond the reach of ordinary people. Today, the story of the Kandahar giant continues to divide public opinion. Some believe it stands as evidence of secrets still hidden deep beneath the earth, a warning about the limits of human understanding. Others insist it is nothing more than a product of collective imagination, conspiracy theories, and legends exaggerated by social media. While there remains no concrete evidence, Every time the story is retold, it still sends chills down the spine, while feeding the yearning to uncover the world's unsolved mysteries. The Blood Towers of the Caucasus. Hidden among the majestic mountain ranges of the Caucasus, the ancient stone towers of the Svan people still stand tall after centuries, silent witnesses to the long and often turbulent history of Georgia. These towers are far more than simple defensive structures. They are vivid symbols of the spirit, honor, and traditions of an entire community that has endured for thousands of years. As early as the 8th century, the Svan began to erect these sturdy towers along the steep mountain slopes. Each tower typically rises to a great height, standing alone on hilltops or nestled among small villages, with walls as thick as fortresses. They serve not only as protection against sudden attacks, but also as safe havens whenever blood feuds broke out, a deeply rooted custom that has shaped Svan life from ancient times up to the present day. In this land, family honor is regarded as a sacred value, at times considered even greater than life itself. If a member of the community is insulted or killed, the entire clan will rise up to reclaim justice at any cost. These intergenerational vendettas form an endless cycle of revenge, compelling every family to remain constantly vigilant. It was precisely for this reason that the stone towers became family fortresses, where women, children, and non-combatants could take refuge, while the men would stand guard and defend the survival of their lineage. Far from being mere architectural relics, the Blood Towers of Svaneti vividly reflect a society organized around close-knit kinship ties, where traditional laws and the spirit of solidarity are paramount. Even today, these ancient towers endure as reminders of a challenging past, where every stone bears witness to the pride and unique cultural identity of the Svan people, a mountain nation that has lived for centuries amidst harsh nature, never once yielding to any external power. Nazi Germany's nerve agents. In the bleak years leading up to the Second World War, as all of Europe braced itself in the shadow of conflict, the secret laboratories of Nazi Germany became the birthplace of one of humanity's most terrifying inventions: nerve agents. It all began with what seemed like a harmless goal: German chemists racing to develop new pesticides to protect the country's crops from the devastation of insects. Yet, during a series of experimental mixtures, chemist Gerhard Schrader accidentally created a compound far beyond anyone's expectations. This chemical didn't just kill pests, it could destroy the nervous systems of all living creatures with only the smallest dose. This was tabun, the world's first nerve agent. The discovery quickly caught the attention of Nazi Germany's military circles. Those who obsessed daily over the dream of apocalyptic weaponry instantly recognized tabun's deadly potential, and research was rapidly expanded to develop more types of nerve gas, most notably sarin, a compound even more lethal than tabun, capable of killing within moments. Secret factories sprang up, production lines ran at full speed, and the German war machine prepared for a scale of chemical warfare unlike anything the world had ever seen. Yet, the great irony lay with Hitler himself, the dictator who would haunt history for his boundless brutality. Even with stockpiles of nerve gas and the ability to spread death on a massive scale, Hitler refused to allow these horrific weapons to be used in battle. The reason lay in his own past. During the First World War, he had once been the victim of a gas attack, tasting firsthand the depths of fear and pain. This experience led him to view chemical weapons as a last line that should never be crossed, at least not on the European front. As the war drew to its end and the Nazis fell, the scientists who had helped create these deadly compounds suddenly became highly sought-after targets by both Allied powers. A furious race to capture scientific talent erupted. Many of these individuals were quickly spirited away to the United States or Britain under new identities, beginning a new chapter in the history of global science and military affairs. From their secret wartime laboratories, they went on to advance chemistry, medicine, and even played roles in laying the foundations of space technology, fueling remarkable leaps in science and technology in the post-war era. The legacy of Nazi Germany's nerve agents, therefore, is not just a haunting memory from a dark period, but a powerful reminder of the terrifying underside of human ingenuity. Discoveries that begin with the hope of improving life can become weapons of unlimited destruction and death. In the end, the story of tabun, sarin, and Nazi nerve agents stands as a warning about the razor-thin line between science that serves life and the darkness of slaughter and war, where every invention bears within it two faces, waiting for humanity to choose how they will be used in the future. Beelzebub. In the world of Western religion and legend, the name Beelzebub always evokes an eerie, haunting feeling. Known as one of the most powerful figures in the underworld, Beelzebub is not just a symbol of evil, but also the embodiment of diabolical intelligence and some of the most cunning deceptions ever recorded in the history of faith. Yet few realize that the true origin of this Lord of the Flies began with ancient beliefs on the frontier between cultures and mythological traditions. Originally, Beelzebub was a deity worshipped in the Near East under the name Baalzebub, meaning Lord of Ekron. In the eyes of ancient inhabitants, he was a powerful god protecting the city, imbued with sacred meaning and supernatural might. However, as Judaism developed and gradually overshadowed the local religions, the image of this pagan deity was transformed, eventually becoming an enemy of God, and ultimately maligned as the Lord of the Flies, representing filth, decay, and all that was most unclean in the world. In the Hebrew Bible and ancient texts, the name Beelzebub appears as a symbol of the devil, always linked to instigating rebellion against God. By the Middle Ages, Western theologians and writers on demonology had further shaped the image of Beelzebub, elevating him to one of the most powerful princes of hell. In many records, Beelzebub was ranked just below Lucifer in terms of power, intelligence, and evil. Beelzebub is not simply a symbol of demonic evil. He is also associated with strange phenomena: swarms of flies appearing as omens of disaster, uncontrolled outbreaks of plague, and all manner of misfortune that cause people to live in fear and confusion. His name is also forever tied to the chilling witch trials, where anyone suspected of communing with Beelzebub faced torture and a tragic fate. To this day, Beelzebub continues to appear frequently in popular culture, from horror films to novels and comic books. Whether depicted as a monstrous demon or as a swarm of buzzing flies over decaying flesh, the terror his name inspires has never faded. He remains an immortal symbol of human downfall and the eternal fear of forces beyond control, where the line between the divine and the demonic is but a thin veil, and the collapse of faith can sometimes begin with nothing more than a single fly. The Apocalypse of Peter. There are books that were once regarded as the very handbooks of faith, only to be forgotten for centuries. The Apocalypse of Peter is just such an apocryphal revelation, one that once fired the imagination of generations of ancient believers. In the 2nd century AD, this book was so widespread that at times it was copied and circulated even more than the Book of Revelation found in today's Bible. Unlike other canonical texts that often speak with restraint about the afterlife, the Apocalypse of Peter flings open the door, leading readers straight into heaven and hell with imagery that is strikingly vivid and powerful. According to legend, this is a record of a vision that the Apostle Peter, the closest disciple of Jesus, was granted by the Lord himself. In the story, Jesus leads Peter through the heavens, allowing him to witness firsthand the rewards awaiting the righteous and the dreadful punishments reserved for sinners. In the surviving pages, Peter recounts a chilling journey through hell, a realm where wrongdoers are subjected to every manner of haunting torment. There, liars are hung upside down by their tongues, mouths oozing with blood and pus. Adulterers are suspended over bubbling pits of mud. Murderers are thrown into holes teeming with poisonous snakes. And blasphemers are burned alive, gnawed endlessly by worms. The images of women dressed immodestly, hung by their hair over fiery chasms, or those who have committed abortion plunged into pits of refuse, their children transformed into burning flames, are impossible to forget. Hell appears not only as a place of physical suffering, but as a judgment for every shadowed corner of the human soul. In contrast, heaven in Peter's vision is flooded with light, music, sweet fruit, and the songs of angels. The righteous there are clothed in garments of light, walk through fragrant fields of flowers, their hair adorned with rainbow blossoms. In this place, all earthly pain and injustice dissolve, leaving only endless joy. There was a time when the Apocalypse of Peter was considered an essential holy book for many early Christian communities. Its harrowing images did not merely reflect a terror of evil, but also served as a powerful warning about the consequences of sin and the saving power of faith. Yet precisely because it was so direct and unflinching, the Apocalypse of Peter was gradually excluded from the canon, giving way to a gentler, more allegorical vision of the afterlife. Today, most of the book's content survives only in scattered manuscripts, but its echoes still linger like a warning bell about the boundary between good and evil, about the ultimate choice each person faces on their spiritual journey. The Apocalypse of Peter is not simply a tale of hell and heaven, but a profound portrait of humanity's deepest fears and longing for redemption. Mad honey. Amid the mist-shrouded slopes along the Black Sea, where nature still clings to its wild and mysterious beauty, there exists a type of honey that has made the world wary mad honey. This honey is not only as sweet as the first sunlight of spring, but within it lies a dangerous power that was once considered a secret weapon on ancient battlefields. The bees here often gather nectar from flowers like wild rhododendrons, producing a shimmering amber honey that seems harmless at first glance, but actually contains a natural compound called grayanotoxin. Just a small amount is enough to send a person into a hallucinogenic trance, cause delirium, disrupt the heart's rhythm, and even lead to nervous system paralysis if taken in excess. Since ancient times, drops of mad honey have been used as a deadly sweet trap along the marching routes of some of the most renowned armies in the ancient world. There were times when seemingly innocent jars of honey were secretly scattered along the way, turning the Greek army under Xenophon, the Roman legions of General Pompey, and even Russian forces in the Middle Ages into unsuspecting victims. After consuming this honey, soldiers would stumble and lose consciousness, their minds clouded and unable to fight. In a matter of moments, these once mighty armies became easy targets for sudden ambushes, falling to complete defeat before they ever understood what had happened. This deadly secret is not only found in the pages of history, but still lives on today as a real-world legend. In the mountain villages of Turkey, mad honey is still sought after as a valuable medicinal substance, even though the price for a single liter can reach hundreds of dollars. Locals believe that in extremely small doses, this special honey can help treat conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, and even relieve stomach pain. Yet its story doesn't end with medicinal uses among thrill seekers, and the curious mad honey is a gateway to extraordinary journeys of the mind. To obtain this honey, bee hunters must risk their very lives, dangling from sheer cliffs, facing swarms of aggressive bees just to harvest each precious hive. Every drop of honey is the result of such daring adventures, of a history marked by war, and of medical mysteries that remain unsolved. Even today, the story of mad honey continues to fascinate people not just for its sweet aftertaste, but for the lingering sense of danger and wonder it has left with humanity over thousands of years. The ancient campsite. Across the vast expanse of Holloman Air Force Base, a secret lay undisturbed for thousands of years before finally coming to light. During environmental conservation efforts and geological surveys, archaeologists unexpectedly discovered an ancient campsite dating back as far as 8,200 years, buried deep beneath the sands of the Tulrosa Basin. What seemed to be nothing more than a windswept, sun-baked stretch of land turned out to be a place of rest and life for some of the very first people ever to set foot in this harsh western region of the United States. The site was not merely the remnants of a single shelter, but the traces of an entire encampment, almost like a small village, where groups gathered together, children ran around campfires, adults tended hearths, fashioned tools, and shared meals by the firelight. Traces of charcoal and ash, still black beneath the earth, tell the story of cold nights when fire was the only source of life in the vast desert. Alongside them were countless flint tools, sharp little flakes, and even several grinding stones, a testament to the skill and creativity of early humans. The discovery of this ancient campsite has opened a completely new perspective on the adaptability and social organization of prehistoric people in the American Southwest. Far from being mere wandering hunter-gatherers, these people knew how to select sites with abundant water and food, build shelters, pass down the art of making fire, craft tools, and perhaps even maintain traditions that bound the community together across generations. Each artifact, every hearth, and every mark on a piece of stone are the traces of a transitional era, from a nomadic life of hunting to a semi-settled existence, the first milestone on the long road to the birth of great civilizations in the Americas. Today, the relics uncovered at Holloman hold not only archaeological value, but also serve as vivid proof of human endurance and ingenuity in the face of nature's challenges. The White Sands have preserved these fragments of memory like a time capsule, so that, when finally opened, an entire prehistoric era comes alive, real and intimate amid the barren desert. With every layer unearthed, scientists listen once more to the unspoken stories of those who lived, overcame hardship, and left their footprints along humanity's evolutionary journey. The Devil's Book. In the history of Western religion and lore, few symbols are as haunting as the Devil's Book, that invisible, infernal ledger where, with a single signature. A person's fate is said to be eternally bound in darkness under the power of Satan. This is not merely legend, but a living fear that clung to European and American society from the Middle Ages well into the late 17th century, becoming a formidable weapon during the witch hunts, culminating in the infamous and chilling Salem trials. The idea of the Devil's Book was rooted in a deeply unsettling religious logic. If a believer was required to sign the parish register as a covenant with God, then a traitor, a witch, or anyone who strayed onto the path of evil was thought to undergo a similar ritual with Satan. This book had no tangible form, no one ever truly saw it, but in the minds of the faithful, it was a concrete proof of guilt. The mere accusation that someone had signed the Devil's Book was nearly equivalent to a death sentence, overriding all material evidence. The peak of this terror came during the Salem witch trials of 1692. In an atmosphere thick with anxiety and suspicion, accusations spread like wildfire. Dozens of women and even men and children were convicted of having been forced or willing to sign their names in the Devil's Book. Chilling stories were recounted in court. Some claimed to be visited by ghosts enticing them to sign. Others swore they saw witches bring forth the book and threaten them with the spirits of darkness. Most notably, the testimonies of young girls like Abigail Williams and Mercy Lewis became crucial evidence, as they described in vivid detail how neighbors had lured them to sign the Devil's Book. No one needed to see the actual book. No physical evidence was necessary. A single accusation was enough to bring people to the gallows. In the public imagination, the Devil's Book became a door with no return. Anyone who crossed its threshold would never come back. For the Puritans in Salem, even refusing to sign the parish register was suspicious, let alone being accused of having pledged one's soul to the devil. The result was that dozens were executed and hundreds more imprisoned or tortured, all because of fear over a contract with Satan that no one had ever actually seen. Today, the Devil's Book stands as a symbol of fanaticism and the dangers of societal prejudice unanchored by reason. It serves as a stark reminder of the power of faith and fear, how together they can turn anyone into a victim and transform an entire community into a place of punishment without evidence. Behind the myth lies a profound lesson about tolerance, the peril of hasty judgment, and the razor-thin line between justice and darkness. The mystery of the hobbits. In 2003, the scientific world was rocked when archaeologists discovered the skeletons of a diminutive human species on the island of Flores, Indonesia. This species was officially named Homo floresiensis, but it quickly became known by the familiar nickname the Hobbits, inspired by the tiny characters from J.R.R. Tolkien's famous works. The remaining skeletons reveal that these hobbits stood less than 4 feet tall, with compact bodies yet skulls and bones that were entirely distinct from those of modern humans. What amazed scientists was the fact that they had lived in isolation on Flores for tens of thousands of years, coexisting with strange prehistoric animals in a world almost completely separated from the rest of humanity. The hobbits were not only small in stature, but also possessed many unique traits. Their brains were only about 1/3 the size of ours, yet the evidence suggests they knew how to craft stone tools, hunt, and may have even mastered fire-critical skills for any primitive community. The long survival of this species demonstrates that, in the distant past, the Earth may have been shared by many different kinds of humans, but for reasons unknown, only modern humans survived to the present day. The discovery of the hobbits has also raised profound questions about our evolutionary history. How did such a small-bodied species manage to survive so long on an isolated island, enduring dramatic shifts in climate and geology? And could there be other traces of ancient human lineages still waiting to be uncovered in remote corners of the world? To this day, local people tell stories of mysterious little creatures living deep in the forests, fueling speculation that descendants of the hobbits might still be hiding somewhere in the wilds of Indonesia. Although the evidence remains elusive, the existence of Homo floresiensis has opened a new chapter in the quest to understand humanity's true origins, suggesting that our planet may once have been home to far more ancient human species than we ever imagined. The horrifying slave Bible. Few people realize that there once existed a most unusual and deeply disturbing version of the Bible known as the Slave Bible. This book is not only a rare artifact, but also a living testament to one of humanity's greatest tragedies: the ruthless distortion of faith to serve the purpose of controlling others. First appearing in the British colonies of the West Indies in 1807, the Slave Bible was unlike any other. Instead of bringing hope, compassion, and messages of liberation, nearly every passage about freedom, resistance, and justice was removed. Only certain chapters urging obedience, acceptance, or even encouraging passive suffering as the will of God were left behind. Whereas the traditional Bible contains thousands of chapters telling of the Israelites' deliverance from Egyptian bondage and the yearning to overcome all chains for the sake of freedom, in the Slave Bible, 90% of the Old Testament and more than half of the New Testament were stripped away. Stories like Moses leading the Jews out of slavery, miracles in which God helps people rise above their fate, all of these were erased. In their place, commands such as "Servants, be obedient to your masters" were retained, repeated as the sole message, and planted into the souls of the oppressed. Plantation owners feared that if enslaved people learned of liberation and their right to rise up against injustice, there would be no way to control them. And so, under the guise of missionary work, they printed countless copies of the Slave Bible, turning scripture into a tool to legitimize exploitation. For those enslaved, the book that should have been the greatest source of comfort in faith became an invisible chain, drowning out any will to resist. Today, only 3 copies of the Slave Bible are known to exist in the world, and one of them is displayed with solemn dignity in Washington, D.C., as a painful reminder of the past. The worn pages themselves bear witness to a devious scheme. When people are willing to twist even the word of God for the sake of power, the tragedy extends far beyond the body and reaches deep into the soul. The story of the Slave Bible is not just a lesson about the horrors of colonialism and slavery, but a warning about the power of knowledge and the right to know the truth. Only when the light of truth shines forth can faith become the driving force that leads humanity out of the darkness of oppression and toward a future of freedom and justice. Nicolo Paganini. Some names are etched into history, not only for their talent, but also for the dark legends that swirl around them. Nicolo Paganini is one such figure. Born in Genoa, Italy at the end of the 18th century, Paganini astonished the world from a young age, with a musical ability far beyond what seemed humanly possible. As a child, he could already play the mandolin and soon moved on to the violin by his teenage years. He had conquered major stages, leaving even the masters of his era in silent awe of his virtuosity. But this extraordinary talent was more than just the result of hard work or natural gift. It was shrouded in a chilling, mysterious aura. In an age when people believed no one could reach such heights without help from supernatural forces, rumors spread quickly across Europe that Paganini had sold his soul to the devil in exchange for his phenomenal technique. Some whispered that it was actually Paganini's mother who made a pact with the devil when he was just a child, trading her son's soul and future for fame and glory. Every time Paganini appeared on stage, the audience was spellbound, both intoxicated by the music and unnerved by the presence of an artist who seemed almost possessed. His slender fingers danced across the strings, producing sounds no one had ever heard before, while his deep, hollow eyes appeared to gaze into another world. His music was more than art, it was almost a form of sorcery, sending chills through listeners, leaving them trembling between ecstasy and terror. And so, the ghostly anecdotes began to multiply. Some claimed Paganini used violin strings made from the entrails of women he loved, that each note was the wail of a soul trapped inside his instrument. These macabre stories only added to his legendary image, brilliant and terrifying all at once. But behind the glare of the spotlight was a life marked by tragedy. Paganini fell early into drink, gambling, and fleeting romances, haunted by loneliness and erratic moods. At times, he would appear in a crowd, his gaze drifting off to some distant place, where only he, his music, and the shadow of fate existed. His talent raised him to the highest peaks, but also imprisoned him within the legends created by others. Even after his death, debates raged. Was Paganini a pure genius, or merely a pawn of the devil's power? Yet, regardless of how many mysteries surround him, Paganini's music lives on standing as proof of the price humanity is willing to pay to reach immortality in art, even if it means crossing the line between light and darkness. The unsolved secrets of Machu Picchu, the pyramids, and other monumental sites. Today, thanks to the remarkable advances of modern technology, the thousand-year mysteries of great monuments such as Machu Picchu, the ancient pyramids, and long-lost cities are gradually being revealed to humanity. in ways no one could have imagined. Drone technology, LiDAR scanning systems, and artificial intelligence have become the new eyes of archaeology, allowing researchers to peel back layers of dense vegetation or centuries of earth and stone to access structures still hidden deep underground. In the Andes, Machu Picchu has long stood as a symbol of the grandeur of the Inca civilization, but recent discoveries have shown that what we know is only a very small part of the whole story. With drones and LiDAR, dozens of neighboring structures have been uncovered, along with water channels, secret passageways, and ceremonial sites that were once concealed by jungle. Similarly, in the forests of Guatemala, entire Maya cities containing tens of thousands of buildings, pyramids, and intricate road networks have come into sharp focus thanks to aerial laser surveys, something that, just a few decades ago, would have been considered an impossible dream. The reach of modern technology does not stop in the Americas. It has also expanded the search for the origins and construction techniques of Egypt's pyramids, the mysterious stone temples of Southeast Asia, and the monumental architectural complexes of Central America, like Teotihuacan. Every time a new pyramid is identified, or an ancient city emerges from beneath layers of earth and stone, questions arise. Who built these wonders? How were they built? And for what purpose? These mysteries fuel speculation about civilizations even older and more complex than the dynasties recorded in history. In particular, artificial intelligence has opened up new possibilities for deciphering ancient languages, helping scientists gradually gain a clearer understanding of the worldview, religion, and spiritual life of past peoples. Forgotten characters and ancient texts, once undecipherable, are now being analyzed, reconstructed, and connected by AI, paving the way for discoveries that could completely change our perception of human history. It could be said that never before has the journey to decode the secrets of the world's greatest archaeological sites been so suspenseful and filled with hope. With every new discovery, the portrait of lost civilizations becomes more vivid, and the great questions about the true origins of humanity await the day when they are finally unveiled in full. Vimana. Amid the rugged and desolate mountain ranges of Afghanistan, in 2012, a sensational story began to circulate and capture the world's curiosity. According to numerous unverified sources, during a secret military operation, American soldiers unexpectedly discovered a strange ancient artifact deep within a cave, not gold or precious stones, but a Vimana, the legendary flying machine once described in ancient Indian epics. The appearance of this object suddenly made every theory about prehistoric technology come alive more vividly than ever before. According to accounts from anonymous witnesses, this Vimana was not simply a remnant of an ancient relic, but seemed to exist in a mysterious state, apparently protected by some form of enigmatic time trap. When a team of 8 soldiers attempted to approach and remove the artifact from the cave, they all suddenly vanished without a trace. No further signals were heard, and no contact could be made with the soldiers. All electronic devices appeared to become paralyzed when they reached the cave's entrance. Military and technical experts continually sent in more rescue teams, but all were forced to turn back before a strange spatial barrier, where reality itself seemed to warp and every effort to approach failed. The story of the Vimana once again made archaeologists and historians question themselves. Could it be that the records in the Mahabharata and Ramayana about flying chariots, weapons of light, and battles in the open skies were not merely legends, but actually concealed a level of technology far beyond the imagination of the modern world? In the ancient texts, Vimanas are described as flying machines capable of moving through the air, underwater, and even traversing different planes of space. They possessed powerful weapons, engines with unknown principles, solar energy, and even the abilities of invisibility or instant teleportation. Each description sounded more like a blueprint for futuristic high-tech weaponry than something belonging to a civilization thousands of years old. The discovery of the Vimana, although yet to be verified, has sparked a wave of debate about the possible advanced development of ancient Indian civilization. Many scholars believe that if this story is true, it would be evidence that knowledge of physics, astronomy, energy, and machine building among the ancients had once reached a height no less than that of the modern world, perhaps even surpassing today's intellect. Some also believe that the appearance of the Vimana is proof that there was once interaction or contact between humans and extraterrestrial beings in the distant past. Although the truth about the Vimana remains a mystery, the story has continued to ignite humanity's curiosity and passion for exploration. It opens up not only an archaeological enigma, but also the longing to understand the unimaginable abilities that once belonged to our ancestors, about chapters of history buried under layers of earth and stone, and still waiting to be deciphered somewhere in this world. Modern technological applications in archaeology. In recent years, advances in modern technology have brought an entirely new wave to the field of archaeology. Scientists are no longer limited by traditional tools or manual excavation methods as in the past. Instead, the world is witnessing the rise of pioneering technologies, from underwater robots and artificial intelligence to advanced laser scanning systems. Thanks to these innovations, mysteries that have been concealed by time for thousands of years are gradually being unveiled from a completely new perspective. In ancient cities buried deep within the jungle, LiDAR laser scanning technology has allowed archaeologists to redraw the map of relics hidden beneath dense layers of foliage, something that, in the past, could only be guessed at through experience or faint traces on the ground. With laser beams sweeping across hundreds of square kilometers of primeval forest, the entire structure of Maya cities, their pyramids, roads, and aqueducts once lost to oblivion, now appear clearly, like a vivid painting. This technology not only saves time and effort, but also opens up the prospect of decoding ancient civilizations at an unprecedented speed. Beyond that, artificial intelligence is also being applied to the deciphering of lost ancient languages. Thanks to its ability to process massive volumes of data and recognize complex patterns, AI has begun to assist experts in finding ways to read engraved tablets and mysterious symbols that generations of scholars once found impossible to solve. This is a key step in reconstructing the still blurred portions of history, helping us better understand the worldview, thinking, and spiritual life of ancient peoples. In addition, underwater robots and remotely operated devices have become indispensable tools in expeditions to explore ancient shipwrecks, relics deep beneath the ocean floor, or within treacherous caves. They can overcome all human limitations, venturing into dangerous or extremely narrow places without risk to human life. These modern robots not only capture images and collect samples, but can also directly participate in the excavation process, even reconstructing each detail of artifacts in extremely harsh environments. Notably, biotechnology has also contributed to reviving the past in ways no one ever imagined. Analyzing the DNA of ancient grape varieties in wine jars buried for thousands of years has revealed many unexpected secrets. Researchers have not only been able to determine the origins and hybridization of plants, but have also reconstructed winemaking processes, tastes, and culinary habits of ancient peoples. Along with this, computer-based image reconstruction techniques allow us to recreate portraits, costumes, and even ceremonies and architectures that once existed, building a direct bridge between the present and lost civilizations. The combination of science, technology, and archaeology not only brings shocking discoveries, but also opens up a promising future for recreating human history in a truthful and lively way. What was once shrouded in the darkness of time is now gradually being revealed under the light of human intellect and the power of modern technology. The Throne of Satan. Hidden among the imposing halls of the Pergamon Museum in Berlin lies a monumental artifact that stops every visitor in their tracks, the Great Altar of Pergamon. This majestic structure is referred to by scholars, believers, and even occultists by a far more haunting name, the Throne of Satan. The story begins with a passage from the Book of Revelation in the New Testament, where the author, believed to be Saint John on the island of Patmos, writes about the 7 churches of Asia Minor. He draws particular attention to the city of Pergamon. "I know where you live, where Satan has his throne." To the early faithful, these words were not merely a metaphor for evil, but a reference to a real place, a site where the forces of darkness were believed to dwell within the heart of humanity. Over 2,000 years ago, Pergamon was a glittering center of ancient Greek civilization. Atop a hill overlooking the Aegean Sea, the ancients built the Great Altar of Pergamon, a massive construction with snowy white steps and reliefs depicting epic battles between gods and demons. For the Greeks, it was an altar dedicated to Zeus, the ruler of Olympus. Yet, as the Roman Empire rose and Christianity spread, the altar took on new meaning, cloaked in an aura of mystery, and ultimately regarded as the throne of Satan by early Christian fathers. This throne became not just a symbol of an opposing faith, but a test of conviction for the earliest believers. According to Revelation, Pergamon was the site of brutal persecution, where figures like Antipas, the steadfast martyr, lost their lives for their faith. This context made the image of the throne of Satan all the more chilling, a challenge made manifest in daily life, where the forces of darkness were not only hidden but revealed at the very center of civilization. Modern theories suggest that the throne was not just a religious symbol, but also reflected historical realities. Pergamon was once a seat of power, knowledge, and the most elaborate pagan rituals in Asia Minor, home to grand temples dedicated to foreign gods, and a gathering place for mysterious ceremonies, all of which, to Christians, stood in opposition to the truth of God. When the ruins of Pergamon were unearthed in the 19th century and relocated to Berlin, the Great Altar became not just an archaeological treasure, but a reminder of an age of conflict between light and darkness, between human reason and sacred fear. Viewed through a symbolic lens, the throne of Satan is not merely a stone chair, but a metaphor for the power of evil lurking within centers of authority and in the magnificent strongholds of mankind. It is a place where darkness can reign even amid the heights of civilization, a stark reminder of the fragile line between light and shadow in human history. Even today, as visitors walk into the Pergamon Museum and stand before that colossal altar, they confront not just an ancient masterpiece, but the echo of thousands of years of belief, fear, and questions that have never truly been answered. The mysterious tomb in Spain and its cosmic connection, an ancient tomb recently discovered amid the wild countryside of Spain, estimated to be 5,400 years old, is stirring up many questions and debates in the international archaeological community. What truly excites researchers is a remarkable phenomenon that occurs only once a year. On the exact day of the summer solstice, the morning sunlight shines straight through the tomb's entrance, illuminating the innermost chamber deep within. That moment lasts only an instant, before everything slips back into darkness, like a mysterious switch that is flipped on and then off in the heart of the earth. Even more astonishing, more than 1,000 miles to the northwest, the tomb of Newgrange in Ireland, built 4 centuries earlier, features the same sun-catching mechanism, perfectly aligned to welcome the solstice sun with incredible precision. These two monuments, separated by vast distances in both space and time, were both designed to capture sunlight in a sacred ritual at the most important moment of the year. This similarity presents a profound mystery. Did the ancient peoples of these distant lands have some kind of connection? Did there once exist a vast network spreading ancient beliefs across Europe? Or is this merely a coincidence in humanity's understanding of the universe and life itself? To this day, no one has provided a clear answer. Yet each year, as sunlight penetrates the depths of ancient stone, the story of these light-catching structures and the mysterious faith of our ancestors continues to challenge the imagination of all humankind. The Galloglass mercenaries of Ireland. Beneath the mist of medieval Ireland's fields, the silhouettes of the Galloglass warriors rise as symbols of ferocity and transformation in European history. The Galloglass were not regular standing armies, but elite mercenaries who struck fear into the hearts of every powerful lord in Ireland. They came from Scotland, where Viking blood had mingled with that of the native peoples for generations, producing warriors of remarkable strength, wielding heavy weapons and displaying exceptional fighting skills. Ancient chronicles recount that the Galloglass first appeared in Ireland in the mid-13th century, at a time when the country was divided by local powers and facing external expansion. In those turbulent days, chieftains and lords did not hesitate to hire the Galloglass as personal bodyguards or commanders for their private armies. They often took part in decisive battles, standing at the front lines or protecting the most important figures clad in iron armor, bearing enormous axes and wearing the distinctive cloaks of the northern seafaring peoples. What set the Galloglass apart was their lack of allegiance to any one side. They were ready to serve anyone who could pay native Irish or foreign invader alike. There were even battles where opposing Galloglass bands found themselves on different sides, turning the clash into a fierce contest between warriors of the same origin. Their presence did not just shift the balance of internal wars, it also spurred a wave of cultural exchange and integration between Scotland, Ireland, and even other Nordic countries. In every tale passed down through generations, the Galloglass are remembered as both a source of dread and of pride, a testament to an age when loyalty and the boundaries between cultures and bloodlines were in constant flux. As the power of kingdoms increasingly concentrated in the hands of larger forces, the role of mercenaries like the Gallowglass gradually faded into history. Yet, the mark they left remains vivid in the memory of the Irish, where every hill and crossroads might still echo with the footsteps of these warriors of mixed Viking and Celtic descent, a living reminder of a turbulent era where the line between friend and foe, homeland and foreign soil, was always as shifting and elusive as the morning mist. Other mysteries of animals, society, religion, and culture. In the journey to unravel the mysteries of the past, we cannot overlook the fascinating stories that revolve around the animal world, social life, religion, and ancient cultures' enigmas that science has yet to fully explain. One of the most intriguing details appears in ancient Egypt, where it is believed that people not only worshipped but may have trained baboons to participate in social life as policemen. Images of monkeys wearing hats, maintaining order in marketplaces, or even helping apprehend criminals were once carved into walls and depicted in art, revealing a level of animal domestication and training that even the modern world would find astonishing. It wasn't just Egypt. Great civilizations such as the Maya, the Inca, and prehistoric societies across Asia and the Middle East have left indelible marks through their achievements in construction, urban planning, agriculture, and complex irrigation systems. The Maya, with cities like Tikal, Palenque, and Chichen Itza, built massive pyramids, ancient ball courts, and dense networks of roads and canals, all reflecting a highly organized and developed society. Recent archaeological discoveries show that the ancient methods of terraced farming, water management, and natural resource use are still shrouded in mystery, often surpassing the imagination of later generations. Behind the grandeur of these structures and cultures, countless buried ruins and abandoned cities remain as unanswered questions about the fate of ancient civilizations. Teotihuacan in central Mexico is a prime example. Once the largest urban center in ancient America, with its Avenue of the Sun and magnificent pyramids, the city was suddenly abandoned in the 7th century. To this day, the cause of Teotihuacan's collapse remains a mystery. There is no evidence of major warfare, and no one knows why hundreds of thousands of inhabitants left at once, leaving behind majestic monuments to stand alone against time. The deeper we dig into the past, the more we realize that these strange achievements, puzzling customs, and enduring traces are all essential pieces in the search for humanity's origins. And the more mysteries that are revealed, the greater our desire to decode the unknowns of the ancient world, driving researchers to keep opening the door to the past with the help of modern science. The Book of Giants. In the dim light of history, amid countless forgotten manuscripts and unresolved mysteries, the Book of Giants emerges as a strange and haunting presence. Belonging to no official religion, this book is like a mirror reflecting the darkest depths of ancient mythology. The surviving pages were discovered among the mysterious collection of the Dead Sea Scrolls, believed to date back more than 2 millennia. The book's beginning takes readers back to a time before the Great Flood, when the world had not yet known the terrible punishment of the deluge. It was an era when strange beings known as the Nephilim roamed freely. According to legend, the Nephilim were not ordinary humans. They were the offspring of a union between the fallen angels, Watchers, who dared defy heaven's command, and human women. Their existence symbolized an ambition to transcend limits and secrets locked between 2 worlds. Unlike the canonical Bible, which only briefly mentions the Nephilim, the Book of Giants places them at the very center of tragedy. Each ancient line describes the prophetic, unsettling dreams of these giants. In these visions, Mawe, one of the Nephilim leaders, foresees a future of looming destruction. He dreams of a world overwhelmed by catastrophe, all things wiped out as punishment for the sins sown by the giants and the Watchers. Not only humanity, but the trees, animals, and even the earth itself writhed in terror at the overwhelming power of this hybrid race. Frightened and anxious, Mawe sought out Enoch, the legendary prophet who served as a bridge between heaven and earth for counsel. Enoch, with a vision that pierced through time, warned the Nephilim to repent if they wished to avoid God's wrath. He also sent messages of warning to the fallen Watchers, urging them to turn away from sin. But the arrogance of these beings was too great, and none were willing to submit to prophecy. The wheels of fate continued to roll toward the abyss. Because it strayed too far from fundamental doctrine and delved into fantastical and dark details about the birth and destruction of the Nephilim, the Book of Giants was ultimately rejected by mainstream religious authorities. They dismissed it as the product of an imagination seduced by darkness, not as the true word of God. Even so, throughout history, fringe religions like Manichaeism once considered it scripture, believing that the cosmic struggle between good and evil could not be fully understood through the lens of officially sanctioned texts alone. Today, the Book of Giants continues to trouble scholars and mystery enthusiasts alike. It not only opens the pages of the first great rebellion between angels and humans, but also raises the timeless question of the limits of pride and what happens when humans and other beings try to rise above their fate. On the blurred boundary between myth and obscured truth, this book stands as a reminder that sometimes the things cast out of the light are the ones most worthy of deep reflection. Greek mythology and the origins of the gods. The world of Greek mythology has long captivated humanity, with tales of the all-powerful gods atop Mount Olympus, beings endowed with supernatural strength and supreme intellect, seemingly set apart from the human world. Yet there exists a bold and intriguing theory. Perhaps the origins of these gods are not rooted in some distant myth, but instead began with real people, exceptional individuals who survived the Great Flood and were later revered by posterity as immortal deities. In many ancient cultures, especially around the Mediterranean, those who survived catastrophic floods were often remembered as figures possessing extraordinary longevity, living far beyond normal human standards. Some were said to live for centuries, even close to a millennium, and it was precisely this trait that elevated their memory to something sacred in the minds of their communities. From this perspective, it is not hard to see why, over generations, these people were transformed into the great gods of legend. One controversial but fascinating example is Athena, the renowned Greek goddess of wisdom. Some scholars have hypothesized that Athena might in fact be Nama, the daughter-in-law of Noah, who, according to Western legend, survived the Great Flood alongside her family. Nama was the wife of Ham, Noah's son, and is mentioned in the Bible as one of the last survivors of that global catastrophe. If this is true, her longevity and wisdom would have made her seem immortal to later generations, and her story could have evolved into the veneration of Athena by Greek civilization. After the deluge had passed, humanity entered a period of rebuilding, with only a small population remaining. Those survivors became the foundation of new societies. They tended to live much longer, possessed deeper knowledge, and displayed strengths unmatched by their descendants. To generations who lived only several decades, ancestors who survived for centuries were nothing short of supernatural. Over time, they were remembered not just as real people, but gradually mythologized as immortal gods, the central figures of sacred stories handed down through the millennia. So, when we revisit Greek mythology and the legends of the gods on Olympus, perhaps we are gazing at an enchanting tapestry of history, where the line between human and divine is but a thin veil, woven from the memories of descendants who endured the deepest catastrophes and held an undying faith in the survival of humankind. Legends and the pre-deluge civilizations. Imagine if there was once an age when people could live for more than 800 years, a time when our ancestors witnessed centuries pass by, as if they were nothing more than fleeting moments. Ancient inscriptions scattered across the world have recorded stories of this brilliant yet mysterious era, the time of pre-deluge civilizations, which existed before the Great Flood swept everything away. Both Eastern and Western legends speak of a golden age when humans lived in harmony with the gods, and lifespans of several centuries were considered commonplace. To this day, there is debate. Are these tales merely myth, or do they reflect a chapter of human history that has been completely forgotten? Deep within the collective memory of Mesoamerican cultures, there is a paradise called Tamanchchan, a land revered by the Aztec and Maya as the cradle of humanity. For them, Tamanchchan was not only a paradise for the souls of the departed, but also the dwelling place of the gods, and perhaps even the very first homeland of humanity on Earth. Thousands of years ago, when European civilization was still shrouded in darkness, cultures in Mexico preserved stories of an ancient world, a place where the first humans were created and where they would one day return after death. Scholars such as Jesuit priest Juan de Tovar, who dedicated his life to recording Mesoamerican legends, described Tamanchchan as an American version of the Garden of Eden. But unlike the paradise of the Bible, the path to Tamanchchan was filled with trials. According to Aztec mythology, after death, the soul must traverse the shadowy realm of Xibalba, battle demons and restless spirits, and pass through multiple supernatural worlds before finally reaching the promised land of the gods. The great question remains, if Tamanchchan ever truly existed, where was it and why did it disappear? Some researchers believe Tamanchchan might have been located in the central highlands of Mexico, while others suspect it once existed near the shores of the Gulf of Mexico. Bold theories even suggest it was once the capital of a powerful civilization erased from history by a cataclysm, possibly the very Great Flood echoed in so many legends. Perhaps, behind these mythic tales of extraordinary longevity, divine realms, and world-ending disasters, lies humanity's hazy memory of a glorious civilization that vanished long ago, a civilization we can only glimpse today through faint clues and the dusty, time-worn pages of ancient texts. The Angel of the Abyss. If we mention the most mysterious and terrifying figures in the Bible, we cannot fail to mention Abaddon, or by his Greek name, Apollyon. The image of the Angel of the Abyss is always shrouded in a dark mist, evoking both the horror of irresistible destruction and the cold breath of the final day of judgment. Although he does not appear many times in the Bible, every time Abaddon's name is mentioned, it is like thunder announcing a coming storm of annihilation that no one can avoid. According to the Book of Revelation, Abaddon is the one who holds the key to the abyss, that deep and dark place described as the bottomless pit that imprisons the souls of the departed. When the fifth trumpet sounds, this angel opens the gates of the deep, releasing a strange army of locusts, creatures that are not ordinary insects, but incarnations of pain and torment, bizarre in appearance, with teeth like lions, long hair like women, chests armored with iron, and tails with stingers. Under Abaddon's command, they spread terror over all humanity, punishing those who reject the faith with prolonged suffering, not killing them, but making people long for death without any hope of relief. The name Abaddon itself says it all. In Hebrew, Abaddon means destruction, while Apollyon in Greek means the destroyer. From another perspective, Abaddon is not entirely an evil being. Even as the angel of darkness and devastation, Abaddon is still described as an instrument of ultimate justice, executing the punitive will of God upon unrepentant, sinful souls. Abaddon is the symbol of the ultimate horror, where life is buried, hope is shattered, and humans must face the consequences of their misguided actions with no way back. In Jewish, Christian, and even Islamic traditions, Abaddon is sometimes a fierce angel, sometimes a symbol of the bottomless abyss where souls are punished, and sometimes even a realm of the dead with no escape. In any form, every time Abaddon appears, it is always a chilling warning about the ultimate limits that mankind should never cross. Abaddon. Apollyon is not simply a demon, nor merely a nightmare of religious faith. He is the embodiment of ultimate punishment, the sentence from which there is no appeal, and the bell signaling the end of the world when all secrets are revealed. Every soul is brought into the light of judgment, and no one can escape the cold gaze of the Angel of the Abyss. The Petroglyph Beach in Alaska. On a wild, untouched island in Alaska, hidden beneath the cold waves and the whispering pines swaying in the wind, there is a place that makes anyone who sets foot there fall silent. This is Petroglyph Beach, the legendary shoreline, where dozens of mysterious symbols were carved by the ancient Tlingit people into smooth grey stones thousands of years ago. When the tide goes out, each stone reveals strange engravings, spirals, faces, the shapes of whales, and abstract patterns mixed with sharp, intricate motifs that no civilization today has been able to fully decipher. Amid the misty coastline and the sound of the wind howling from the north, these symbols seem like messages sent from a distant past, raising countless questions that still have no answer. Some people believe these were boundary markers, a way for the Tlingit to claim their land and send a warning to strangers who dared trespass on their sacred territory. There are also theories that these carvings mark a great event, perhaps a tsunami, a war between tribes, or maybe just memories of a plentiful salmon season that brought abundance and security to the whole village. But even more fascinating, many scholars and Tlingit descendants believe that this stone beach is a doorway to the spiritual world. Every curving line, every spiral, is said to hold a prayer, a magical ritual meant to call the fish back to the river's mouth, or to ask the ancestors to protect their descendants through harsh winters. That beach was once a place for mysterious ceremonies, where the community would gather to retell legends and keep their cultural traditions alive through many generations. Yet, with time, those masterpieces on the stones have gradually faded, eroded by wind, waves, and the changing tide. Layers of moss have covered them, the carvings are growing fainter, and many symbols are now lost forever beneath the saltwater. What remains today is just a shadow of the past, making Petroglyph Beach even more mysterious and haunting. Modern people still have not found the final answer to the true meaning of these symbols. They are like a doorway opening into the legendary world of the Tlingit, where the past, nature, and the spirit world blend together into an immortal epic of Alaska, forever challenging every effort to decode them. The mystery of Khufu's tomb and the strange temperature anomalies. Deep within the Great Pyramid of Giza, the tomb of Pharaoh Khufu, a legendary structure that has inspired awe and reverence across countless generations, still conceals secrets that leave researchers restless and searching for answers. The first strange detail is the mysterious emptiness inside the chamber, believed to be the final resting place of Egypt's most powerful pharaoh. For thousands of years, countless explorers and archaeological teams have ventured inside, but all that remains is a shattered stone sarcophagus and a few scattered fragments of wood. No sign of jewels, golden statues, or any artifact worthy of a king. Some have whispered about Napoleon's enigmatic visit at the end of the 18th century, saying that he carried away the last treasures of this great tomb, leaving behind only those cold, echoing spaces haunted by the passage of time. Yet, what truly confounds modern scientists goes far beyond the disappearance of artifacts. New research using infrared temperature measurement technology has uncovered unexpected anomalies beneath the ancient stones of the pyramid. Especially on the eastern face of the monument, the temperature of certain foundation stones is either noticeably lower or higher than those nearby, creating strange temperature zones that no one has been able to explain. These clues seem like faint whispers from the past, hinting at the possible existence of hidden chambers, passageways, or even an untouched treasure hoard still lying somewhere beyond those massive walls. Leading archaeologists looking at this data cannot help but wonder, is it possible that beneath the surface beyond the rooms we already know there are still corridors or chambers, skillfully designed and sealed tight through the millennia, waiting for the day they are finally revealed to humanity? The long silence in the darkness of the pyramid only makes these questions more compelling, fueling the imagination of future generations and pushing their curiosity further toward mysteries that have yet to be solved. What was Khufu truly trying to hide? And perhaps the strange secrets behind these temperature anomalies will continue to test human patience for many more centuries to come. The largest hadrosaur dinosaur. Amid the ancient primeval forests that once blanketed the land of China, there lived a species of herbivorous dinosaur so imposing that every other creature of its era had to keep a wary distance simply because of its overwhelming size and majestic presence. This was Shantungosaurus, the largest hadrosaur duck-billed dinosaur ever recorded in paleontological history. Unlike the sharp-toothed predators that ruled the prehistoric world, Shantungosaurus chose a peaceful existence, towering over the dense vegetation and quietly grazing on branches and leaves, yet still standing as a symbol of nature's power during the age of dinosaurs. Imagine yourself standing beneath the ancient canopy, shadows weaving together with pale shafts of sunlight, and suddenly, before you, emerges a giant creature more than 7 meters tall and stretching over 16 meters from nose to tail. This is Shantungosaurus, a name that comes from the Shandong region, where its first fossils were discovered. Compared to more famous dinosaurs like Velociraptor, the sheer size of Shantungosaurus's head is astounding, as it could measure over 1.5 meters long, surpassing even the full body length of an adult Velociraptor. The most remarkable feature of this dinosaur was not only its massive size, but also the extraordinarily complex structure of its teeth. Inside its mouth, scientists have counted as many as 1,500 small teeth, tightly packed in rows, forming one of the most powerful plant grinding mechanisms of the Cretaceous period. Thanks to this specialized dental arrangement, Shantungosaurus could easily crush even the toughest branches, digesting vast amounts of plant matter each day to maintain its enormous body, which weighed up to 20 tons, the equivalent of 3 fully grown elephants combined. Although its appearance might seem awkward and cumbersome, Shantungosaurus was actually quite agile in its movements. Its strong hind legs allowed it to traverse various terrains, while its smaller forelimbs helped with balance or reaching for more food among the low shrubs. With its broad back and long tail, every step it took would send vibrations echoing throughout the forest. The herd lifestyle of this species only added to its strength, for when gathered in large groups, they became an impenetrable wall against the threats posed by the era's top predators. Despite being a plant eater, Shantungosaurus carried itself with a certain dignity, its wide duckbill serving as both a harvesting tool and, when necessary, a shield. Its large eyes, positioned on either side of its head, allowed it to keep close watch on its surroundings, sensing danger from afar and making a timely escape when predators approached. Today, the massive fossilized skeletons of Shantungosaurus are displayed in major museums across China, standing as a reminder of an age when the earth trembled beneath the feet of these gentle giants, a time when true strength did not come from claws or fangs, but from extraordinary adaptation to the vast and varied plant world. Shantungosaurus remains a vivid testament to the richness of nature, and is still an intriguing mystery that each new generation continues to explore with fascination. The treehouse tribe. Amid the dense and mysterious rainforests of Papua New Guinea, there exists a world where time seems to stand still, where towering treehouses rise into the sky and misty air. This is the home of the treehouse tribe, a community that lived completely isolated from the rest of humanity for thousands of years. Their houses have often been compared to skyscrapers, as many of their tree dwellings reach heights of up to 40 meters, built solely by skillful hands and the simplest of tools. These tree houses are not merely shelters, they serve as fortresses, protecting the tribe from wild animals, insects, and even the unknown threats that lurk deep in the forest. Every post, plank, and step is designed to be just sturdy enough for a whole family to live in, and just daring enough to keep outsiders at bay. Seen from a distance, the homes appear to float in mid-air, connecting humans to nature in the most primal way. To reach their sanctuary, members of the tribe must climb a narrow, notched ladder, clinging to a towering trunk, a challenge that only those raised in the forest can hope to conquer. Their lives are self-sufficient, relying on hunting, gathering, small-scale farming, and raising a handful of familiar animals. For a long time, they believed that theirs was the only tribe in existence. This absolute isolation lasted until the late decades of the 20th century, when Western expeditions first set foot in this remote region and recorded what had never before been known about the treehouse tribe. Surrounding their secretive existence are countless stories and rumors that continue to intrigue the outside world. One of the most infamous tales is that of cannibalism, a practice that early Western journalists and explorers often sensationalized in their first reports from the area. However, most modern anthropologists believe that story is largely a legend, likely born out of misunderstanding, or perhaps spread by certain tribe members themselves as a warning to keep strangers away from their land. Today, the treehouse tribe has begun to interact with the modern world, yet their traditional values, treehouse building skills, and way of life in harmony with the forest remain a precious legacy that many admire. In a world that is constantly changing, the image of these tree houses in the heart of Papua New Guinea's wilderness stands as a symbol of mystery, resilience, and the limitless imagination of humankind. The Heart of St. Lawrence. The Heart of St. Lawrence O'Toole was once among the most sacred relics kept at the famous Christchurch Cathedral in Ireland. Yet in 2012, this treasured artifact was stolen under mysterious circumstances. The story sent shockwaves, not only because of the heart's historical and religious significance, but also because of the rumors and misfortune said to follow in its wake. For years after the theft, the police could find almost no trace of the relic's whereabouts. The people of Ireland never stopped talking about its strange disappearance, and many believed that taking the heart of a saint could bring misfortune or even unleash a powerful and unpredictable curse. Exactly 6 years later, something unexpected happened. The thief quietly returned St. Lawrence's heart to the church. The real reason behind this act only deepened the sense of mystery. Those involved in the theft claimed that they had experienced a string of bad luck. Sudden and painful deaths struck their loved ones, most of them caused by heart attacks. Terrified that they had awakened a curse, they decided to return the relic to its original sacred resting place. Since then, the Heart of St. Lawrence has become not only a religious artifact, but also a symbol of mysteries that lie beyond human understanding, reminding everyone to show reverence for the sacred values that have endured through the centuries. The alien door on Mars. When the first images from the Curiosity rover were transmitted back to Earth, the world was immediately abuzz with excitement over a strange photograph. right there on the barren rocky slope of Mars. A sharp-edged, rectangular crack appeared, as if someone had used an invisible hand to carve a doorway into the cold, red surface, an entrance leading deep into the planet. The image instantly became a hot topic across forums, from scientific circles to enthusiasts fascinated by the mysteries of outer space. Bathed in Mars's orange-yellow sunlight, this door stood out with its perfectly straight edges, creating the impression of a secret entrance buried for millions of years, just waiting to be discovered. Some people immediately speculated that this could be evidence of an ancient extraterrestrial civilization. Did intelligent beings once exist who were capable of building such solid structures in the Martian desert? However, NASA experts offered a more scientific explanation. They believed that the crack could have formed naturally, the result of geological processes as layers of rock were affected by dramatic temperature changes or surface tremors. In fact, nature can sometimes produce sharply defined shapes eerily similar to the man-made structures we are used to seeing on Earth. Even so, the image of the Martian doorway continues to inspire endless speculation and hope. It serves as a reminder that the universe still holds countless mysteries beyond our understanding, and that imagination and the drive to explore will always push us further on our quest for life, even if it is just beyond the mysterious door at the heart of the Red Planet. The abandoned oasis city. Lying quietly amid the arid Rocky Mountains of northeastern Niger, Jado was once one of the legendary oases of the Sahara Desert. There was a time when this city was an essential stop for caravans crossing the desert, a place where merchants would pause to take on water, exchange goods, and rest before continuing their arduous journey toward Libya or deep into Africa. Over the centuries, Jado witnessed the rise and fall of many dynasties and powerful empires, from the kingdoms of the Sahel to the Islamic forces that swept across these sandy lands. During Jado's golden age, rows of sun-baked clay and stone houses stood tall along narrow alleyways, and the voices of traders echoed beneath the shade of palm trees in the harsh sunlight. But then, history took another turn. Trade routes shifted, conflicts became more frequent, and the climate grew increasingly harsh, leading residents to gradually abandon this once prosperous land. The fortress walls, once strong and unyielding, now remain only as silent ruins under the blazing sun, worn down by the winds and sands of passing years. Today, Jado is no longer the bustling hub it once was. The city is now like a solitary ghost, in the midst of a vast sea of sand, with only a few hundred residents remaining, quietly living in small houses nestled beside ancient ruins. Traces of the kingdoms that once passed through can still be found, from architectural remnants to mysterious carvings on rocks in the surrounding area, telling the story of a place that once teemed with life in the heart of an otherwise endless desert. Although it has nearly faded into obscurity, Jado still stands as a vivid testament to human resilience in the face of harsh natural challenges and the upheavals of history. This place is not just an abandoned city, but a treasure trove of untold secrets about the golden past of the oasis and the journeys that once connected the ancient civilizations of the Sahara. For those who love to explore, Jado is an invitation to step into a forgotten world, one that still breathes with the legendary spirit of the African desert. The ancient giant predatory worm. More than 500 million years ago, when Earth was still an unfamiliar and mysterious world, the primordial ocean stretched vast and empty of fish, while the land was nothing more than a realm for simple moss and algae. In those cold waters, a remarkable creature emerged, becoming the terror of every fragile life form of its era. This was the giant predatory worm, one of the earliest and most fearsome killers in evolutionary history, earning from scientists the nickname the ancient shark. If you think of worms as small, soft, and harmless creatures, their ancient ancestors were something entirely different. This creature could grow up to 30 centimeters long, a colossal size for any invertebrate of its time. Its body was slender and flexible, with long antennae-like appendages reaching forward to probe its surroundings, and a powerful jaw lined with razor-sharp teeth. Thanks to this formidable mouth, it could easily tear apart smaller animals, from soft-bodied organisms to primitive crustaceans, making itself the unrivaled predator of the deep. What made this worm so terrifying to other creatures of the period was not only its agile movements, but also its cunning hunting tactics. It would often hide in the sediment, exposing only its head, patiently waiting until unsuspecting prey wandered by. At that moment, its sharp jaws would shoot out and snatch the victim in an instant. This ambush hunting strategy placed the ancient worm at the top of the food chain, acting as the shark of the Cambrian era, a period marked by the greatest explosion of biodiversity in Earth's history. Fossils of the giant predatory worm have been discovered in ancient rock layers in Greenland, with specimens so well preserved that paleontologists can clearly picture an age when the seas teemed with strange and extraordinary life. Its name, Timor Bestia, the beast that sows terror, already hints at the dominance this worm once held. Compared to its contemporaries, it was a true giant, not only hunting but also directly competing with other crustaceans and soft-bodied animals, playing a key role in shaping the very first food chains on Earth. Although today their distant relatives are just small worms living hidden beneath the seabed mud, the existence of the ancient giant predatory worm is a vivid testament to nature's boundless creativity. It is a story of a time when the earliest animals first learned how to hunt, to compete, and to survive on this planet, laying the groundwork for hundreds of millions of years of evolution in the world of natural predators. The abandoned cinema. Lying quietly in the heart of Brussels, Odeum Theatre was once an essential destination for lovers of art and culture in the city. Before it bore the name Odeum, this cinema went through several remarkable transformations. At first, the building was constructed as an elegant dance hall, where the upper class would hold lavish parties and dance through the night beneath a dome ablaze with lights. When the age of cinema arrived, this space was quickly converted into a movie theatre, continuing to captivate audiences with the very first films of the 20th century. Generations of Brussels residents flocked here to enjoy cinematic masterpieces, losing themselves in music, moving images, and the echo of applause that filled the hall. What made Odeum Theatre so uniquely charming was not only its glorious past, but also its distinctive architectural style. The building is a delicate blend of flowing, graceful Art Nouveau and the mysterious beauty of Moorish design, with curved domes, elaborate decorative patterns, and large windows welcoming streams of natural light. But time spares nothing. After decades of serving the community, Odeum Theatre gradually fell into a state of severe disrepair. Neglected maintenance made the building dangerous, as architectural details were worn away, plaster walls peeled, and wooden floors rotted. All attempts to revive the cinema failed due to a lack of financial resources and community interest. Today, Odeum Theatre is only a shadow of its former self, lying silent in the midst of bustling streets, like a sleeping giant guarding golden memories of a vanished era. Moss-covered walls, broken window frames, and an empty auditorium still seem to whisper stories of days of splendor, of magical screenings and sleepless balls. Though abandoned, this cinema remains a living testament to the romantic, proud beauty of Brussels, and a reminder of the value of memory and the past, those things that continue to endure in every brick and every shadowy corner of the city. The giant predatory bird. In the wilds of South America millions of years ago, there once existed a giant bird whose very name was enough to make every other creature wary. This was Kelinkan, an extinct predatory bird known as the Nightmare of the Plains. Its height surpassed that of a grown human, reaching over 2.5 meters tall, with a head that alone accounted for nearly a third of that height, longer than that of any bird ever known in history. What made Kelenkan so terrifying was its massive, powerful head, equipped with a sharply curved beak like the blade of an axe. Compared to any other predatory bird, none possessed such an enormous and imposing head. This beak was its primary weapon, enabling it to deliver lightning-fast, brutal attacks. When it spotted prey, Kelenkan would not rush in recklessly, but would move with long strides, carefully observing before suddenly launching forward at incredible speed. A single, forceful peck aimed at the neck or back could shatter the spine, bringing down its victim almost instantly. Paleontologists believe that, beyond its sheer strength, Kelenkan was also a highly strategic hunter. It used its exceptional height and vantage point to spot small mammals or reptiles across the vast grasslands. Its strong legs allowed it to sprint after prey and maintain dominance in every chase. Unlike eagles, it did not have razor-sharp talons, but its large head and powerful beak gave it a decisive advantage, capable of breaking through any protective bones its victims might have. Kelenkan's life was not just about high-stakes hunts, but was also tied to the fierce struggle for survival on the perilous plains. During the Miocene, South America was home to many strange animals, each with their own unique adaptations. Yet, It was the arrival of this giant predatory bird that upended the balance of the ecosystem, establishing itself as a true terror at the top of the food chain. Today, Kelenken's fossils are treasured by scientists, serving as keys to unlock a world where flightless birds once dominated vast territories. The image of Kelenken, with its sturdy legs, gigantic head, and piercing eyes, has been etched deeply into the imagination of generations, reminding us that there was a time when birds on Earth did not merely fly, but could become unmatched killers in their own right. The secret library beneath the Sphinx. Hidden deep beneath the golden sands of the Giza plateau, under the silent gaze of the ancient Sphinx, the people of Egypt and countless generations after have passed down an undying legend. The Hall of Records, a vast secret library said to contain all the legendary knowledge of humankind. According to legend, it was the god Hermes Trismegistus, the deity of wisdom and writing in Egyptian culture, who founded this library, a place meant to preserve mathematical formulas, astronomical knowledge, medical secrets, the art of alchemy, and even metaphysical wisdom that lies far beyond the understanding of the modern world. Stories of the Hall of Records are not only kept alive in popular folklore, but also appear scattered across reliefs, ancient hieroglyphics in the necropolis of Saqqara, and on the walls of royal tombs. It was once believed that pharaohs, upon passing into the afterlife, would be granted knowledge from this library to become immortal gods. Images of papyrus scrolls, golden tablets engraved with strange symbols, and underground chambers filled with mysterious manuscripts are still referenced in many ancient stone texts. Many modern scholars and archaeologists have tried to unravel this mystery. Expeditions have come to Giza to conduct geophysical surveys, using ground-penetrating radar in search of unusual underground cavities beneath the Sphinx. Some surveys have indeed recorded the presence of hollow spaces deep under the monument's foundations, making the theory of a secret library all the more enticing. Some researchers even believe that the enigmatic symbols surrounding the Sphinx's base are a kind of code leading to this lost treasury of knowledge. Yet, to this day, every attempt to find the Hall of Records has ended in little more than speculation and hope. Even when American archaeologists once drilled deep beneath the statue's feet to investigate, the only result was the enduring silence of sand and stone. If it truly exists, the legendary library remains out of reach for the modern world. For that reason, the Hall of Records is still counted among humanity's greatest mysteries, stirring not only the hearts of history enthusiasts, but also all those who dream of knowledge that transcends time and space. Perhaps one day, when the final layers of sand are brushed away, this treasure trove of wisdom will reveal its secrets about a civilization that once flourished under the sun of the Nile. The Waterloo denture technology. In the history of Europe, there are stories that seem to belong only in horror novels, yet in reality, they are the stark truths of a time when science and ethics were still in fierce conflict. One of the most haunting mysteries of early dentistry lies in the origins of dentures in the 18th and 19th centuries, a time when the desire for a perfect smile led to incredible, even chilling, practices. When the White Revolution, the craze for beautiful teeth, swept through the European aristocracy, the wealthy were always eager to have rows of perfectly straight, pearly white teeth. However, dental technology was still rudimentary, and materials such as wood, ivory, or metal were unsuitable for daily chewing and often caused pain. It was at this point that pioneering dentists began to seek a source for real teeth, and they quickly discovered a new treasure trove: the battlefield. After the bloody Battle of Waterloo in 1815, the bodies of fallen soldiers lay strewn across the European grasslands. No longer just silent witnesses of history, these men unintentionally became donors for the most exquisite sets of dentures in Europe at the time. Traders and profit-seekers had no qualms about searching the corpses, extracting teeth with pliers, and collecting them to sell to dentists in England, France, and Germany. Those bright white teeth were then mounted onto frames of ivory, gold, or silver, assembled into what became known as Waterloo teeth, a symbol of social status for those who possessed them. In this way, the teeth of the dead from great battles became a luxury commodity, spreading throughout the major cities of Europe. The upper class knew little or simply didn't care about the grim origin of the smile they so proudly displayed. Many advertisements and dental signs even boldly stated "real teeth imported from Waterloo" as a guarantee of quality. Today, looking back, The story of Waterloo dentures reveals not only a turning point in dental history, but also raises a series of questions about the boundaries of ethics and the value of human life in modern society. It is a shadowed corner where beauty and progress were purchased with pain and the unease of silent corpses. From this truth, we can better appreciate the humane advancements of medicine today, where ethics and respect for human dignity are held above all else. Pentaceratops versus Triceratops. When it comes to the most famous three-horned dinosaurs of the Cretaceous period, people often think first of Triceratops, with its imposing horns and massive frill like a sturdy shield. However, standing alongside this legend is a rival no less illustrious, Pentaceratops, a giant that once ruled the vast grasslands of North America. Though both belong to the Ceratopsidae family, each species possessed features that made them distinct icons of the ancient dinosaur world. If you placed Triceratops and Pentaceratops side by side, the differences in size and body structure would be immediately apparent. Triceratops stood out for its bulky body, with an average length of over 8 meters and a weight that could exceed 6 tons. Its head was so large it accounted for nearly a third of its total body length, crowned with 3 powerful horns, 2 rising above the eyes and 1 more on the nose. Behind was a broad, bony frill with a rugged outer edge, like a defensive wall against lurking dangers. Pentaceratops, despite a name that means 5-horned dinosaur, actually had only 3 large horns like Triceratops. Yet, what made Pentaceratops especially impressive was the frill at the back of its head. Compared to any other ceratopsian, Pentaceratops had a frill that was extraordinarily long and wide, forming a gigantic fan that spread out behind the neck like a natural shield. This frill not only protected its skull from sudden attacks, but also served to display its strength, a weapon for attracting mates during the breeding season. The differences in skull shape also made Pentaceratops look even more dramatic, especially when viewed head-on. Its cheekbones extended outward and upward, creating striking highlights on either side of the face. Thanks to this structure, the head of Pentaceratops could reach over 3 meters in length, a figure far surpassing many other dinosaurs. Meanwhile, Triceratops possessed a solid, somewhat rounder head, giving its entire body a sense of sturdiness and security. In terms of function, the horns were not only tools for self-defense against predators, but could also be used in battles for territory or to display dominance among males. When 2 individuals faced off, those sharp horns became fearsome weapons, while the large frill offered both protection and a more impressive appearance, like a vibrant suit of armor granted by nature. In summary, while both are symbols of the 3-horned dinosaur family, Pentaceratops and Triceratops each have unmistakable traits. One stands out for its sheer size and supersized frill like a protective shield, while the other radiates resilience, strength, and readiness to face any threat. These distinctive features have helped secure the timeless allure of these 2 great warriors in the world of 3-horned dinosaurs. The skeleton of the shipwrecked sailor. Amid the sheer cliffs and cold winds blowing in from the Atlantic Ocean, the coastal region of Cornwall in England still holds countless sad tales of the sea and lost destinies. One day, local residents unexpectedly discovered a human skeleton lying quietly beneath the yellow sand along a seaside path. The bones, weathered by time, still bore the unmistakable features of a once powerful man. Forensic analysis revealed that this individual had performed hard physical labor throughout his life, with the upper body muscles leaving their mark on the bones, evidence of a seasoned sailor. Archaeologists determined that the skeleton dated back to around the 18th or 19th century, a time when the seas off Cornwall were infamous for witnessing thousands of catastrophic shipwrecks. In those icy waters, countless ships vanished without a trace, leaving behind a legacy of unnamed, forgotten lives. Given the skeleton's location close to the cliffs, it is likely that this man was one of the unlucky sailors washed ashore after a shipwreck amid the storms. There were no personal belongings or clues to help identify him. All information about his life seemed to have been swept away by the sea and time, never to return. The story of this sailor's skeleton is also the story of so many others who went to sea in Cornwall, men who left and never returned, their bodies lying silently in nameless graves among the rocks and sand, waiting for someone to find them, only to drift once more into the legends of the sea. To this day, thousands of shipwrecks and unexcavated skeletons remain scattered along the Cornwall coast, all silently reminding us of a turbulent and tragic past, where the ocean was not only a source of life, but also a bottomless grave for the adventurous dreams of mankind. The mysterious half-shark in Nova Scotia. Amid the wild landscape of Oak Island, a place that, for centuries, has been entwined with legends of lost treasure, ancient secrets, and endless quests, a strange discovery has once again stirred up excitement within the mystery-hunting community. It was the image of half a shark's body washed up on the shore, the cut surface unnaturally smooth, as if created by a technology not of this natural world. There were no signs of gnawing or tearing. The body seemed to have emerged from an alien experiment, or perhaps fallen victim to some mysterious force lurking beneath the cold waters of the Atlantic. Oak Island has long been famous for its strange tales, from pirate gold and theories about the Knights Templar to rumors of unidentified objects once appearing off these very shores. So, when half a shark appeared with such bizarre, precision-cut traces, the theories began to multiply once again. Some speculated it was the mark of an unknown sea monster, while others imagined secret underwater devices, or even some top-secret military experiment. Whatever the truth behind the bisected shark may be, this image has now become a new chapter in the mysterious lore of Oak Island. This story goes far beyond the simple carcass of an animal. It sparks an endless curiosity about what still lies hidden beneath the surface, where, no matter how far humanity has come, we have yet to unravel all the mysteries of nature and the history of this place. The prehistoric Parthenon in Brittany, France. Under the blue sky of Brittany, France, across the quiet fields of stone stretching over the Karnak Peninsula, stands an ancient monument that leaves anyone who visits it speechless. This is Kandahar, also known as Barn Mound, a symbol that has been called the prehistoric Parthenon. Around 5000 BCE, when Europe was still shrouded in the darkness of the Neolithic Age, the earliest inhabitants silently erected this marvel. More than 7 millennia have passed, and Kandahar still stands as a powerful testament to the creativity and strength of our distant ancestors. What makes Kandahar so astonishing is not only its age, but also its sheer scale, which surpasses the imagination. The entire structure stretches over 70 meters in length, nearly 25 meters in width, and rises to a height of 9 meters, comparable to a modern building. With a total mass of more than 12,000 tons of stone predating the Great Pyramid of Giza by centuries, Kandahar is one of the largest surviving prehistoric monuments in Europe. Inside, there are 11 chambers with corridors leading deep underground, each passageway laid out with remarkable precision, bearing the imprint of a mysterious civilization that, to this day, scientists have yet to fully understand. The history of Kandahar almost faded into oblivion. In the 19th century, local people viewed it simply as a pile of strange rocks, unaware of its true value. Many of the stones were removed to build houses and roads. It was not until the mid-20th century, thanks to the tireless efforts of archaeologist Pierre Rano and his colleagues, that the monument was excavated, restored, and returned to nearly its original state. During the excavation, archaeologists found countless ancient artifacts, pottery shards, stone axes, arrowheads, and exquisite jewelry from both the Stone Age and the Bronze Age. The carvings on the stone walls, images of axes, bows, and mysterious symbols have remained intact for thousands of years, opening a door into the distant past of ancient people. Yet the greatest mystery of Kandahar lies in its very purpose. Although many have called it an ancient tomb, there is still no conclusive evidence that it was ever used for burial. Not a single grave or human remain has been found inside, and the monument seems to hold a significance far greater than that. Was it a place for religious rituals? A center of power for a once mighty tribe in this land? Or perhaps it was an astronomical marker, tracking the changing of the seasons and connecting humanity to the vast universe? Though the answer remains elusive, Kandahar continues to stand quietly amid the wild landscape, becoming an eternal symbol of prehistoric Europe, a priceless archaeological treasure that generations of scholars and visitors alike are compelled to ponder and explore. And whenever the evening sun shines through the ancient grey stones, it feels as if one is witnessing a moment of communion between modern people and the ancient spirits that still linger here. The largest whale ever discovered. If you ever thought that the blue whale represented the pinnacle of greatness in the animal world, you may have to reconsider when you hear about a discovery that has stunned the scientific community in recent times. Perseus colossus, the giant of the prehistoric ocean, a fossil whale discovered in the arid desert of Peru, but which once reigned over the seas millions of years ago. Not only was this creature enormous in size, but it also possessed a skeleton so heavy that scientists were astonished its bones are believed to have weighed up to 3 times as much as those of the blue whale, the largest animal ever known to have lived on Earth. The journey to discover Perseus colossus began on an ordinary morning in the Ica Desert, where wind and sand cover every sun-scorched rock, and few would imagine that the secrets of prehistory lay buried below. As paleontologists carefully removed layer after layer of earth and stone, they were amazed by the massive bones lying in succession, like traces of a creature beyond imagination. The skeleton was so large that a single vertebra alone weighed more than an adult human, and the entire skeleton could reach tens of tons. This is a figure never before recorded in any previous study of whales. What is remarkable about Perseus colossus is not just its size, but the weight of its skeleton. While the modern blue whale can reach up to 150 tons, estimates suggest that Perseus colossus may have weighed more than 300 tons, a number that overshadows all previous records. Its bones are unusually thick and dense, possibly as an adaptation to life in shallow coastal waters or to withstand the powerful buoyancy of ancient oceans. Each vertebra, each rib, is like a work of art crafted by nature, telling the story of a giant that once swam quietly beneath the waves, roaming the vast oceans that once stretched across South America. Unlike the graceful, agile blue whale of today, Perseus colossus evokes the image of a slow, cumbersome creature, not fast, but incredibly durable and powerful. The discovered fossils show that its bones were very solid, with every joint large and sturdy, like pillars supporting an entire underwater kingdom. It is believed that this super-heavy skeleton allowed Perseus colossus to sink easily and remain stable in the water, avoiding being swept away by strong waves and fierce currents, while also providing an advantage in foraging in sediment-rich coastal waters. The most impressive aspect of Perseus colossus is that this whale is not only immense, but also opens a new chapter in the evolutionary history of marine animals. Before this discovery, many scientists believed that the record for absolute weight belonged only to the blue whale, but Perseus colossus has shown that nature still holds mysteries yet to be solved. Perhaps millions of years from now, beneath layers of arid rock or deep in the ocean, there will still be other gigantic skeletons waiting to be found by humankind. Looking at the skeleton of Perseus colossus today, anyone can feel overwhelmed by the immense scale that nature once bestowed upon the oceans. The heavy vertebrae, the massive ribs, all tell the story of a time when the seas were filled with giants, where the strongest was not always the most ferocious predator, but rather those giants who silently transcended time, leaving an indelible mark on the evolutionary journey of life on Earth. The necropolis of Mer. Lying amid the barren deserts of Egypt, the city of Elusa had long been forgotten beneath the sands of time, only to be awakened by one of the most remarkable archaeological discoveries in recent years. The necropolis of Mer. As layer upon layer of earth and stone was carefully removed, what appeared before the archaeologists was a vast burial complex, accompanied by a wealth of precious artifacts, marking this site as the political and religious heart of the entire region for centuries. The archaeologists uncovered not only ancient buildings, but also numerous stelae inscribed with jet-black Coptic writing, revealing stories of ancient deities once worshipped here, as well as traces of manuscripts, scrolls, and ritual objects. Among the largest tombs, they excavated a broken wooden sarcophagus containing the remains of a woman who had held a special position in society. Beside her were a decorated mask, ancient bead necklaces, bronze mirrors, and small ceramic jars, all evoking the image of a ruling, priestly elite, buried with the utmost pomp and splendor of their age. What makes the necropolis of Mer truly special lies not only in its scale or the sheer number of relics, but also in the profound historical message it carries. Here, beneath the desolate sand, are the traces of a highly developed ancient Egyptian society, where political and religious power blended into one. Mer was once the resting place for provincial governors, high priests, and members of the elite class, as well as evidence of a complex, multi-tiered system of governance, in which every position from rulers and priests to lesser officials held its own distinct place in the social structure. Beyond reflecting the spiritual life and beliefs of its people, the necropolis of Mer also opens new chapters in the understanding of power and organization in ancient Egypt. The inscriptions on the walls, the images of gods, and the mysterious burial rituals allow researchers to piece together the broader picture of the relationships between the state, religious authority, and the populace. Thanks to these findings, modern people can envision more clearly a civilization that once flourished along the banks of the Nile, a place where death was not the end, but merely the beginning of another journey into the eternal world. The Kingdom of Kush. Stretching along the gentle flow of the Nile River, the Kingdom of Kush was once a radiant jewel in the land that is now Sudan. While Egypt is world-renowned for its magnificent pyramids, Kush was by no means inferior, having created its own brilliant culture that lasted for thousands of years and left an indelible mark on the map of human history. In ancient times, the people of Kush lived under the shadow of Egypt's power. For centuries, they endured domination, as well as cultural, religious, and architectural influences from the ancient Egyptians. Yet, with unyielding spirit, the Kushites continuously developed their own distinct identity. From the 11th century BC, they gradually regained their independence, building a powerful kingdom known as Nubia, and even went further, seizing control of Egypt itself and establishing the legendary dynasty of the Black Pharaohs recorded in history. The clearest legacy of Kush is still found in the small pyramids scattered across the deserts of present-day Sudan. Although modest in size compared to their siblings at Giza, they possess their own unique architectural style and reflect the ambition of a people who once struggled to rise above subjugation. Beyond these monumental structures, the Kingdom of Kush became a vibrant trading center where goods, ideas, and cultures flowed between Africa, Egypt, and distant lands. Though there was a time of glory, the fate of Kush ultimately succumbed to successive waves of conquest from the outside world. When Rome conquered Egypt in the 1st century AD, Kush lost its counterpart and longtime rival, along with its independence. Its power gradually faded over time, and this once mighty kingdom eventually gave way to new empires. Although Kush has faded into the past, the traces it left behind still remind us of a civilization that once flourished along the Nile, a place where people not only defied destiny, but also wrote a heroic chapter of history through their relentless pursuit of independence and creativity. The giant earwig. In the world of insects, already filled with bizarre creatures, few could have imagined that there was once a species of giant earwig living right into modern times, and it has only recently vanished from the earth forever. This was the giant St. Helena earwig, a creature whose name might sound like pure fantasy to many. But in reality, this insect was once part of our planet's ecosystem, with a body length of nearly 10 centimeters, many times larger than any living earwig species today. For those who have never seen an earwig before, imagine a long, glossy black insect with a prominent abdomen and a pair of curved pincers like two blades, always ready to grip any rival or prey that wandered too close. But on St. Helena, a remote island in the Atlantic Ocean, once the kingdom of strange and unique animals, this earwig grew to a truly astonishing size. Its hind pincers were so large, they looked like miniature iron tongs. Thanks to its massive appearance, every sighting of the St. Helena earwig drew attention and gave a shiver to anyone with a fear of insects. Despite its fierce look, the giant earwig actually led a rather secretive life. During the day, it hid beneath large rocks, burrowed deep into decaying leaves, or squeezed into moist cracks to avoid the harsh island sun. Nightfall was when this creature would emerge from its hiding place to forage, mostly scavenging decaying plant matter and small insects. Notably, this species was also famous for its remarkable parental care. Females would vigilantly guard the nest, keep the eggs clean, and nurture the next generation until they were big enough to find food on their own. The heartbreaking reality is that, although the giant earwig once thrived for centuries on St. Helena, it simply could not survive the rapid environmental changes brought by humans. Quarrying, house construction, and expanding new roads caused the earwig's traditional shelters to disappear. After 1967, no living specimens were found in searches. By 2014, the world officially recognized the extinction of the giant St. Helena earwig, marking the end of one of the most remarkable insects ever discovered. The story of the giant earwig is not just a lament for a strange creature lost to time, but a warning about the price of losing natural habitats. If nature can no longer provide safe havens for unique species, whether insects or large mammals, their disappearance becomes inevitable. The image of the St. Helena earwig will remain a haunting and unsettling memory of a time when nature was both magnificent and fragile, once existing in the heart of the modern world. Marriage in ancient Egypt. In ancient Egypt, the concept of marriage was completely different from the way we view it today. There were no grand wedding ceremonies or binding rituals witnessed by relatives and friends. A marriage truly began the moment a woman crossed the threshold into her husband's home, bringing with her items that both families had previously agreed upon. These could be donkeys, food, or other necessities for the new life. Marriages at that time were almost always arranged by the parents, with every detail carefully considered in terms of material wealth and the honor of both families. Prenuptial agreements were quite common, especially when the bride brought a valuable dowry. If the marriage was no longer happy and divorce became necessary, these assets would be returned to the woman, and all children would remain under the mother's care, a rarity among civilizations of the same era. The most remarkable point was the status of women in ancient Egypt. They were granted much greater freedom and equality than in many other places, were not considered the property of their husbands, could own their own assets, and were protected by law in the event of divorce. Although some rules remained in the hands of men, it was clear that Egyptian society offered women exceptional rights, allowing them to take a more active role in family life. However, there was a special exception related to the royal class. Members of the royal family often had to marry their own siblings in order to preserve the purity of the royal bloodline and consolidate power. This practice stood in stark contrast to the views of the wider society, where incestuous marriage was strictly forbidden and unacceptable. This opposition created a distinctive blend of the familiar and the mysterious in the story of marriage in ancient Egypt. The giant koala. On the Australian continent millions of years ago, there was a creature that would have made anyone entering its world stop and gaze in awe and respect. This was the giant ancestor of the koala, beloved by people today, Phascolarctos sturtoni. While modern koalas are small enough to fit neatly on a single tree branch, in the distant past, entire forests seem to belong to these silent giants. Imagine a pristine morning, sunlight filtering through the dense canopy, and the shadow of a giant koala moving among the high branches. Phascolarctos sturtoni truly was a giant compared to its modern relatives. Its average weight could reach up to 150 pounds, 5 times heavier than today's koala, with a burly body and thick, shaggy fur that helped it adapt to the volatile weather of the Ice Age. Despite their size, they were expert climbers, thanks to sharp claws and powerful arms that allowed them to cling tightly to high branches and move effortlessly across the forest canopy like ghostly giants. The diet of this ancient koala was not much different from that of today's species, consisting mainly of eucalyptus leaves. However, with such a massive body, Phascolarctos sturtoni had to consume a far greater quantity of leaves to sustain itself, making it an indispensable part of the prehistoric Australian rainforest ecosystem. Its instinct to stay hidden in the trees helped it avoid ground predators while also taking advantage of a rich food source that few other creatures could reach. Yet, no matter how strong or well adapted it was, the giant koala could not escape the harshness of natural change. As the climate gradually turned drier, eucalyptus forests began to shrink, and food became increasingly scarce. Its large body, once an advantage, now became a burden when the available resources could no longer meet its needs. On top of that, the arrival of humans and new predators made survival even more difficult for Phascolarctos sturtoni. As the forests dwindled, these giants of the trees lost their hiding places and were ultimately erased from the evolutionary record, making way for smaller, more agile species able to adapt to a changing world. Today, whenever we see the small, quiet koalas perched on tree branches, it's hard to imagine that their ancestors were once the monarchs of the treetops. The disappearance of Phascolarctos sturtoni serves as a silent reminder of the power of nature and the fragility of every species, no matter how large or mighty, in the relentless march of time and environmental change. The Spanish conquistadors. The history of the Americas underwent a dramatic transformation when ships from Spain landed in the New World, bringing with them the ambition to conquer and a firm belief in their divine mission to bring enlightenment. Leading the ranks of the conquistadors were Hernán Cortés and Francisco Pizarro, two men who wrote a bloody yet tumultuous chapter in the history of Latin America. Hernán Cortés, a young nobleman, set foot on the coast of Mexico in 1519. Although he did not arrive with a large army, Cortés possessed sharp diplomatic skills and a rare boldness. He quickly realized that deep internal divisions existed within the Aztec Empire, one of the greatest civilizations of the Americas at the time. Cortés skillfully forged alliances with tribes that had long been oppressed by the Aztecs, turning enemies into friends and joining forces to strike at the heart of Tenochtitlan. In just a few short years, he not only toppled Emperor Montezuma, but also brought an end to the dazzling empire that had once ruled the lands of Mexico. At the same time as Cortés, Francisco Pizarro turned his attention southward, confronting the mighty Inca Empire that stretched across the Andes of Peru. Despite having a small force, Pizarro knew how to exploit internal discord among the Inca and used cunning and superior weaponry to dominate an immense territory. His victory over Emperor Atahualpa paved the way for Spain to seize the enormous gold and silver riches of South America, bringing wealth and power back to the royal court in Europe. It was not just military might that the conquistadors relied upon. They also spread Catholicism across the new continent, building churches, bringing priests, and starting a wave of religious conversion unprecedented in the region's history. They established new systems of rule, redrew the map of power, and divided lands that once belonged to great empires into colonies under Spanish control. The impact of the conquistadors extended far beyond the boundaries of a military campaign. Their conquest marked the beginning of a wave of colonization that would last for centuries, forever changing the face, culture, and destiny of the Americas. From the ruins of ancient cities to the magnificent churches that rose atop old foundations, the legacy of this era remains deeply embedded in Latin America, reminding us of a time when history was written in both glory and profound pain. Night-hunting dinosaurs. Night-hunting dinosaurs, a mystery unraveled thanks to modern technology, have brought a fresh perspective to the way people imagine the prehistoric world. For many decades, both the public and the scientific community assumed that dinosaurs were daytime rulers, while only small and timid mammals ventured out after dark. Yet recent research has overturned that thinking, opening up an entirely new horizon in our understanding of the lives of these giants that once ruled the Earth. The key to this shift in perception lies in the fossilized eyes of dinosaurs themselves. By analyzing the structure of the scleral ring, a bony ring within the eye socket, scientists realized that dinosaur eyes held deep secrets about their biological rhythms. The scleral ring is a small circle of bone found in the eye sockets of dinosaurs, birds, and many reptiles today, and it plays an important role in determining an animal's activity pattern. By measuring the ratio between the outer and inner diameters of this bone ring, researchers have been able to identify which species were active during the day and which were specialized for action when darkness fell. The first findings astonished scientists. While most large herbivorous dinosaurs, the digestive machines of the ancient world, were active both day and night, almost without rest, smaller predatory dinosaurs such as Velociraptor displayed all the hallmarks of creatures of the night. Their scleral rings were significantly larger, allowing them to gather more faint light, well suited for stalking and ambushing prey after the sun had set. As for the massive plant eaters, maintaining their enormous bodies required constant foraging day and night, pausing only during the hottest hours. These results have shaken not only our concept of dinosaurs, but also our understanding of ancient ecosystems. It turns out that in the forests and plains of the Mesozoic era, life after dark was just as lively and intense as during the day. The cleverest, most agile hunters chose darkness as their companion, launching surprise attacks on unsuspecting prey. Even the largest giants, no matter their size, dared not sleep peacefully through the depths of night. The study of the scleral ring has opened a window into a world where light and darkness shared dominion, revealing the true diversity, adaptability, and evolution of dinosaurs. From the tiniest detail, a single bone within a fossilized eye socket, scientists have reconstructed the rhythms of life, breath by breath, of these magnificent creatures, showing us that the age of dinosaurs was not just a story of blazing daylight, but also a mysterious symphony beneath an ancient moon. The coelacanth. If any creature on Earth can be called living proof of the passage of time, it is certainly the coelacanth, a fish nicknamed the living fossil that has amazed scientists and the world alike. The coelacanth first appeared more than 400 million years ago, even before the age of the dinosaurs. Over hundreds of millions of years, while countless giant creatures disappeared from the face of the Earth, the coelacanth quietly endured in the deep waters, becoming a living witness to both the most glorious eras and the most violent upheavals in the planet's history. People once believed the coelacanth had gone extinct with the dinosaurs. Its only remained silent fossils embedded in ancient rock. For decades, it appeared in books and museums as a mysterious prehistoric fish, illustrating the biodiversity of a distant age. But everything changed in 1938 when a fisherman off the coast of South Africa unexpectedly caught a strange fish with awkward, leg-like fins and a shape unlike any modern creature. Scientists could hardly believe their eyes, because this fish looked exactly like the coelacanth fossils, truly a returnee from the past. That discovery shocked the global scientific community, for the coelacanth had not only survived multiple mass extinctions, but had persisted all the way to the present day. No one could have imagined that, in the depths of the ocean, there still existed living beings that had changed so little after hundreds of millions of years of evolution. The coelacanth is a large fish, with an average length of over 1.5 meters, scales as thick as armor, and most notably, fleshy lobed fins, a rare feature in modern fish, considered a bridge between fish and the first four-legged animals to move onto land. Even more remarkable about this species is its astonishing lifespan. Recent research has shown that coelacanths can live for more than 100 years, making them among the longest-lived fish in the ocean. They grow very slowly, taking decades to reach maturity, and the gestation period for females can last nearly 5 years, something extremely rare among all animals. This slow-paced life makes coelacanths vulnerable to environmental changes, but it has also helped them survive the planet's great natural upheavals for millions of years. Today, the coelacanth is extremely rare, found only in a few deep ocean regions off the Indian Ocean and Indonesia. They dwell at depths near 700 meters, moving slowly among rocky reefs, seemingly untouched by the fast currents of the modern world. Every time a coelacanth is discovered in the wild, science is given a rare glimpse of the ocean's time machine, a place where the boundaries of life, death, and evolution blur into one. Just looking into the deep eyes of a coelacanth, one is reminded of the persistence and resilience of life against the harshest tests of time. While many giant animals have disappeared forever, the coelacanth remains silently swimming through the depths, becoming an eternal symbol of nature, where miracles can still happen if you have the patience to listen to the stories echoing from the past. Horseshoe crab. Within the ancient geological layers stretching along the Russian coastline, scientists have just revealed a unique discovery: a giant, extremely spiny horseshoe crab species that once lived in the brackish waters where sea and river met hundreds of millions of years ago. This is not just an ordinary fossil, but a key that unlocks the distant past of Earth when the first creatures began conquering the shoreline environments. This creature, named the spiny limulus, is one of the oldest known members of the horseshoe crab family. Unlike the gentle appearance of modern horseshoe crabs, the spiny limulus possessed a large shell covered with sharp spines and prominent armored fins running down both sides of its body, making it look like a prehistoric armored warrior. This structure not only protected it from predators in the chaotic era, but also allowed limulus to move easily across soft mud or coastal pebbles, where waves and tides were always shifting. The remarkable feature of the spiny limulus lies in its strong adaptation to a wide range of habitats. Instead of being limited to saltwater environments, it could penetrate far into river mouths and coastal marshes, ready to exploit any food source from decaying organic matter to tiny floating creatures in the water. This versatility helped limulus survive through the harsh upheavals of nature from the Triassic to the Jurassic period, while many other species gradually disappeared. The legacy of the spiny limulus is not just its sharp-edged armor, but the extraordinary survival story of the entire horseshoe crab family, stretching over hundreds of millions of years. Although most of its relatives have gone extinct, the ancient descendants of limulus still survive in today's oceans, a testament to the ongoing adaptability and evolution of a creature that might otherwise seem ordinary. The appearance of the spiny limulus in natural history is a vivid snapshot of a world that was once incredibly rich and mysterious, opening up new questions for researchers about the evolutionary journey and disappearance of the last armored warriors along the ancient Russian shores. The Roman god of volcanoes. In the world of Roman mythology, Vulcan is not only the god of fire but also the lord of forging, of thunder and lightning, and of the volcanoes that smolder beneath the earth. Unlike many other deities, Vulcan's temple was not built in the center of Rome, but had to stand on the outskirts, separated from the city itself. The ancient Romans always carried with them a fear of the unpredictable power of fire and volcanoes, so they believed that keeping a safe distance from the fire god was the best way to protect the city from his wrath. Each year, when August arrived, the Romans held the Vulcanalia festival outside the city walls at Vulcan's secluded temple. On this day, fires were kept burning all night, and offerings were thrown into the flames, hoping the god would spare the city from great fires and protect the harvest. It was a moment when the entire community turned toward a force beyond human control, approaching it with both reverence and a plea for the fire god's mercy. The image of Vulcan is itself marked by the complexity of a god who endured tragedy. According to legend, Vulcan was the son of the goddess Juno and the god Jupiter. From an early age, he faced a cruel fate, cast down from heaven by his father for daring to defy Jupiter's will in order to protect his mother. That terrible fall left Vulcan deformed, setting him apart from the other gods. Yet it was from this pain that Vulcan found his strength. He built a great forge in the heart of a volcano, where, alongside the Cyclopes, he created the most powerful weapons and magical artifacts for both gods and mortals. On another occasion, Vulcan used his skill to take revenge on his mother Juno, who had turned her back on him after his fall. He crafted a magnificent golden throne and presented it to her as a gift. But when Juno sat upon it, the throne clamped shut, trapping her as a prisoner of the very gift her son had made. Only when the other gods pleaded with him did Vulcan relent and free his mother, in exchange for having his place restored on Olympus. Vulcan's story is not just a journey from suffering to power, it is also a testament to the intersection of fear and hope in the Roman psyche when facing disasters and the ever-present forces of nature. By worshipping Vulcan, the Romans not only sought protection, but also learned to face, master, and overcome the trials of fire and earth. It is an essential piece in the mosaic of the cultural and historical legacy of an empire that once stretched to the ends of the known world. If you find these mysterious stories fascinating, please leave your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our next discoveries. See you in the next video.